Good morning, guys, and welcome to Unique Not Different with me, Shamla. And today I have a very special guest whose name is Dr. David Toby. He's an orthopedic specialist and orthopedic surgeon, and he also works at the Princess Elizabeth Center. So Dr. Toby is here today, and I'm actually feeling very special because I actually grew up with Dr. Toby. And I used to always, anytime he calls my name, I used to feel very special. So having him, so, in this discussion is very special. So good morning, Dr. Toby.
Good morning, Shamla.
How are you
Nice
doing?
seeing you.
Nice.
Great, and it's so nice to see you now as a grown adult and professional.
Thank you. So I know you from the time I started Princess Elizabeth, but can you tell me a little bit
Yes.
of the background in Princess Elizabeth? Meaning, what got you started in, offering your service to Princess Elizabeth? What prompted you to start?
Well, Princess Elizabeth Center was began in 1952 after the the former Queen Elizabeth, when she was a princess. Trinidad was going through a polio epidemic, actually Trinidad and Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was we had so many polio victims. When Trinidad sent the sum of money to Britain for her coronation, every country used to send money. She sent ours back and said, build an institution for polio. So that is how Princess Elizabeth started, as a polio establishment.
Mm-hmm.
When polio was more or less eradicated a few years after, they then started using it for cerebral palsy. And there was my mentor there called Dr. Robertson, E.L.S. Robertson.
Mm-hmm.
And he was there, and he started doing a lot of the surgery on cerebral palsy children and polio. And when I came back to Trinidad in 1984 as a young orthopedic surgeon. The minister pulled me in and they said, like, would you like to help at Princess Elizabeth? I said yes. And the rest is history. I'm still there.
So in your time there, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I'm sure it wasn't just children or adults with, or I guess yes, children with cerebral palsy. But what type of orthopedic problems do you deal with at Princess Elizabeth?
We deal with every deformity. In other words, there are limb deformities, upper limb like bent legs, clubfoot. You see children with severe, well, in Trinidad we call it bandy legs, severe bandy leg, or severe knock knees, and severe foot problems, clubfoot. We deal with that a lot, and also scoliosis, which is we are the only institution in Trinidad and the Lower Caribbean operating on this fine on scoliosis. So we do a lot of that, and we do that every week. All the scoliosis surgery and all the scoliosis cases come to us, and we do that. Now, Princess Elizabeth actually, even before 1984, when I was there, the first time I ever operated there was 1977, because my boss at the time, they used to come from Port of Spain General and do small children. And yeah, we did small children, and we used to do hernias and lumps and bumps and so on. But Princess Elizabeth, I actually ended doing all this, still doing all the children's deformities, mainly lower limb deformities, some upper limb, because we have a team that comes from the States to help with the upper limb deformities. And I also have a team coming from Philadelphia who do the scoliosis, who help with the scoliosis too. So we traverse the whole Caribbean and the world because of all these people who come to help us.
And in terms of, okay, so this is a two-part question. One, in terms of demographic, meaning age, right? Is there age limit that you service within Princess Elizabeth? And also, in terms of, I guess, is there a certain, not only age, but a certain type, meaning, I guess, not demographic, but income bracket that you deal with that, and is it free in Princess Elizabeth?
Yes, my services are free. But and there is a small fee for any surgery that we do. Nothing, and it's not about, we don't do things depending on somebody's means or income bracket. Anybody who turns up with a orthopedic problem, we see about that. As regards to age, we deal with children, and a child is, I suppose, anybody under 18. However, if someone we've operated, let's say in 1990, and they still have the same problem now, let's say they come back with a spinal problem, we will operate on them. It doesn't matter what age they are. So as long as they are our patient, for instance, if you come to us and you have a problem, we wouldn't say, well, you're an adult now. We would still take care of you. You see? But we really prefer to deal with children, of course, because it's a children's institution. Everything is set up there for children. We have a school, we have a workshop, we have everything. We have swimming pools and physiotherapy services and occupational therapy services for rehabilitation.
Now, my other question is, let's say, for example, I guess children with disabilities, in particular physical disabilities, right? What are the most common type of, I guess, orthopedic problems you find children with physical disability, especially sitting down, that occurs?
The most common physical disability essentially is, as I say, is the bandy leg, club foot, and in terms of sitting and being able to, and with cerebral palsy, there are problems with sitting, and there are problems with just even getting up from a chair or standing or taking one or two steps. I'm sure you know that.
Yeah.
And therefore, we try to at least, even if a child is lying down, spends his life lying down, a big triumph for us is if we can get a child to even sit up. If a child can only sit up, a triumph would be just to get that child to stand up.
Yeah.
You know, anything we can get. If the child has never walked, and we get that child to do one or two steps, that's a big triumph.
Well, in terms of demand and supply, right? Obviously, if you're one person, it's one institution, right?
Yeah.
Is demand for the services of Princess Elizabeth orthopedic services increased from, I guess, when you started to now? And I guess going forward, where would you like to see this service, go to in terms of the near future or even long term?
Yeah, well, the demand, our pediatric services, our birth services, that are neonatal services, have increased tremendously. When I started, we didn't even have a neonatal unit, meaning children at birth, you had all sorts of problems that can happen at birth. In the first few hours, few minutes of birth. So therefore, without an ICU unit, you get things like the same cerebral palsy and different things. Yeah. Cerebral palsy has lessened because we have very good ICU doctors and nurses and units, and that has made a huge difference. We still have this quite a lot of deformities, though, in terms of what we call Blount's disease, bandy legs, and different things. That will always be there. Although there has been about a 40% drop in young birth rates. Between 0 and 12, there's been a 40% drop. But we still see deformities, we still see scoliosis, a lot of that. Our waiting list for scoliosis is 1 year. because we do one a week. Sometimes we do two.
Right.
But in terms of the terrible cerebral palsy cases, that has dropped because we have such very good ICU services and neonatal services.
Can you tell me quickly, just to wrap up, what are the days for clinics and what are the days for surgery?
The clinic days, on Monday, we do the spinal scoliosis. Friday, the deformities, upper limb or lower limb deformities, bandy leg, anything like that, cerebral palsy. I operate there on a Tuesday, and on a Thursday, I do the scoliosis cases, because when you do scoliosis, you can only do one case, because those things take 6 hours, 6 to 8 hours.
Yes.
And so on a Tuesday, I do all the limb deformities. So, and I have some help too. I have a Dr. Camille Kwansoon, who also is a pediatric surgeon like me, and she is there with us. And we have sometimes some young doctors who come also to be involved.
Dr. David Toby, it is days like these, I realize how grateful I am to have, this segment, to highlight persons like you in general, and thank you for your service and thank you for your time. And I know, I know how much lives you have impacted. So thank you very much.
Well, I have to thank you, because I know you from babyhood, from being a baby and to child. And I always said, as you know, that you are very intelligent, and we should always make sure that you develop into a professional. And look, my words are correct today. And look who I have interviewing me on TV. So I'm very elated that I can have one of my kids, well, you're not a kid anymore, a kid into an adult, come to do me on TV.
Thank you. And guys, with that being said, I want to say thank you so much for tuning in to this week's segment of Unique Not Different. As I always say, be good, do good. Bye guys, bye Dr. Toby, and thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.